Buongiorno a tutti e benvenuti.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this talk at the Motor Valley Fest. The title is quite clear. We can become an electric valley. We're talking about electrification of cars, so electric cars are a reality, and supercars are not yet here. At the Motor Valley, we have different schools of thoughts. We have of course, talked about these issues on the last occasion yesterday, but we would like to continue with Pedro Leo, Senior Managing Director, Automotive Accenture. Good morning. Davide Danesin, Duty Line Program Executive, Maserati. Good morning. Antonio Gioia, Business Manager, Mobility A2U, Giampiero Testoni, CTO, Energica, and Federico Caleno, Mobility in Italia, and RIX. So first of all, let me leverage the presence of Accenture to get a picture of the scenario for electric cars in Italy. Maybe you can tell us something about the environment, and then we will see how this works in the Motor Valley context. Yes, good morning, everybody. First of all, for those of you who followed us yesterday during the first day of activity at the Motor Valley Fest, you have seen the scenario figures as well as the key topic. You have witnessed the key topic of electricity and the key valley discourse, which means that this is becoming a reality. I wouldn't concentrate on figures solely, because we can take a look at the percentage of electric vehicles we have now, but or in the year 2020. But actually, electrification is happening now in this decade, which I believe is going to be the decade of electrification. At different speeds, of course, according to the different segments we're in. But actually, it's not only a compliance phenomenon. We don't only have to produce electric cars even if there is no demand for it, but there is a demand for it now, and the demand is greater than the offer, even not considering the fact that it is a kind of mobility that is on the one side sustainable, while on the other side it is economically feasible and accessible to consumers. So affordability becomes crucial. So electric motor vehicles should also be affordable, especially in the lower segments. So one can't simply look behind and ask the question of how or when or if we're going to go electric, but actually how are we going to become the key players in this revolution. One of the topics I would like to concentrate on with you today is the following. Electricity is a leverage towards sustainability. This is what consumers are asking from us today, especially young consumers who would like to have a non-polluting car, who would like to have a car that changes our environmental footprint. And this is changing the type of demand we receive. But of course, doing good business is also very important. It is key. It is not solely a matter of compliance. It is not solely a matter of marketing approach, but rather how can we become or can we do positive businesses with a view to sustainability. So this is very important. In fact, we shouldn't just concentrate on figures and numbers. We know that the numbers are booming, but we have 300. We have electric vehicles already on the market that show their importance. And we would now like to talk with Davide Danesin, Maserati, because Davide is working on a very important project. You are about to launch your first electric car. But before I ask you my question, as you have conducted researches on your current clients who are fond of sports car. What do your clients think of electric vehicles? What is your analysis? What can you tell us about it? Of course, according to your analysis as of today, but I'm sure it will evolve over time. Yes, as you said, there is a market for electric cars, and there is a market for electric car for Maserati as well. And there's a new type of client that is called the modern luxury client. This is a client that considers technology and luxury items as a way to access new experiences. So the ownership of the car for them is not only a status quo element, but rather a tool towards a new world. And this client is basically young on average, especially concerning the new clients we have on this market, and they are very keen on sustainability, which means that electric vehicles, electric cars, is an absolute must for them. For sure, the market for luxury exclusive sports vehicle, thermal vehicle, has not disappeared as of now, but we have to follow the market and make our production evolve to be capable of address each and every need. So you're looking at tomorrow's clients then, and their number in terms of electric, of their keenness towards electric vehicles is increasing. It is incredible to see that the market brands are changing. For example, Tesla, there's no point in telling you the old story because you know it, but kids seem to be very deeply touched by the fact that electric vehicles don't make any noise, as much as we were passionate about the fact that certain vehicles made a lot of noise and had roaring engines. But let me go deeper into something different, a more thorny issue, especially when talking about electric cars. Recharging, the charging opportunities. We are in the motor valley, the valley of electric vehicles, where there will be fast electric cars. And I would like to ask Antonio Gioia, where are we now with the fast recharging points? You know, this is fundamental for the purpose of accelerating the introduction of electric vehicles. Federico, you have the floor. Well, considering the development of recharging stations, we have installed 13 recharging stations in Italy, 11,500 of which are already active and up and running. They're connected to the grid. Since we started back in 2011 and 18, we decided to ensure quite homogeneous presence over the territory throughout Italy, so that people are not scared that they won't find a recharging station around their place. So we've had the first 500 stations, 1,000 stations in, with continuous current. They can recharge on a continuous basis, but the power is, as of now, limited. At the start of this year, we have done something different, and it is part of the business plan we have just approved. It's a very high power recharging stations. We're focusing on a recharging net with hubs of 4 to 12 recharging points. The model is that of the supercharger with a power of up to 350 kilowatts. For the current year, we're planning on installing more than 100. 130 is the right number, is the precise number. And then until 2024-25, we will have 3,000 recharging stations. So no fear, you will always find a recharging point anywhere in Italy, while at the same time we would like to enable the use of a sports electric car, but also the medium to high models that could become the single car for the family car, which means that you can recharge in 15 to 20 minutes with a high level of autonomy. So we would like to implement these options on the entire Italian territory, which means they should also be available on the highways. I know that this doesn't depend on you, but that is the big issue, right? Yes, on the highway we have operators like Fleetwix. They have started installing recharging stations on the Rome-Milan highway. They intend to further disseminate these charging points on the entire highway network in Italy. And 2 days ago, based on the financial law approved for 2021 that set a 180-day period during which the dealers had to announce their restructuring plans for the service area on the highway network. Well, at the end of that 180 days, on June the 30th, we have sent a letter to all the dealers proposing our collaboration as an installer of recharging stations on the 440 service stations in Italy, because we know that highways are a major infrastructure, so having to drive 1.5 kilometers out of the highway to recharge a vehicle is not what you would expect as a traveler. So we have informed all the possible partners of our presence and intention to support them. We know that it is a matter of legislation and these things have got to be regulated and simplified. What about the situation in Lombardy? Lombardy is the most virtuous region in terms of dissemination of electric vehicles, but also in infrastructural terms. I guess as A2A, you're organized quite well in this respect. Good morning, everybody. Yes, A2A started off in 2011 experimenting with the very first recharging points with the first battery-operated electric models. We are a local reality, but by the year 2030, we want to become a national operator also on the front of electric mobility, and we have started equipping the most important cities in Lombardy, Milan, and Brescia. Milan has been the very first city in 2015 to obtain the first fast charging stations in Italy, plus one at the Linate airport. But we, of course, would like to have a capillary infrastructure, of course, keeping an eye at the national plan. We have to go from 700 recharging points to more than 6,000 in 2030, which is a very important objective for us. We are installing fast charging stations at 50 kilowatts, but we would like to go even further and enable other top-of-the-range vehicles the possibility to rapidly recharge the vehicle for the benefit of the final users, always bearing in mind the distribution network, which is a very important element for the purpose of sustaining the dissemination of fast and ultra-fast charging station, but also have the possibility to provide the highways, the ring roads, and fast roads with columns, with the charging stations, with the very fast recharging times, as compared to the city centers where you don't have such a need. So we have to identify the vicinity of these fast charging stations to highways and high-speed roads. We know that recharging an electric vehicle takes a longer time compared to refueling. So being very close to the places where clients need them is very important. We're going to provide infrastructures in Lombardy to the northern part of Italy with very high power charging stations following the, of course, capacity of the batteries. As a journalist, we have to stress that we talk about electric vehicles also in terms of fast and super fast charging. So fast charging are necessary to top up energy in town based on your needs. An electric car can be recharged at work or at home, and there's no problem because you can leave your car there for recharging purposes while you're working or during the night hours. But of course, supercharging stations are necessary for you when you are in mobility. So we've been talking about electric vehicles, but here we also have a culture of two wheels. It's a two-wheel area, and there's a new culture of two wheels that is linked to a new reality like the one represented here by Energica. Who's the client of an electric motorbike? Good morning, everyone, and for sure it is a biker that is not a different client to the client of an endothermic engine motorbike. But they would like to have a high performance level. Since the very start, 10 years ago, we always concentrated on super sports bikes, high performance bikes. So our clients are real bikers. They're not urban commuters. They're not people who just take their bike to take a tour. But, you know, we wanted to also attract the public with high-performance electric motorbikes. There was no such thing 10 years ago. We were the very first in 2012, 2013 to have fast charging options on our motorbikes. So our idea was to always render a service to a motorbiker who would like to drive on the mountains or on highways, or to those bikers who would like to drive on curvy roads because they want to have fun and enjoy themselves. So I can only tell you that the clients, we have a very varied customer basis. And it is also very important to know well the country where you're going to sell. We've seen in recent years that there has been an enlargement of our clientele. There are now many biker women. We have very young bikers up to the more than 60-year-old clients. Obviously, these clients are fond of technology. They would like to have the latest high-tech gadget, but they, of course, are very fond of excellent performances. Our bikes can drive at a level of 200 in very little time. So I would like to say that those acceleration levels on electric vehicles seem to be given for granted almost today. And, you know, vibrations and noise, I thought that could be a problem. But in very many occasions, we know that the absence of noise and vibration can clearly be an advantage. It is a cultural matter. It is not just that counts. Let me go back to Accenture and ask you something about the difference between electric car vehicles in general and these new sports supercar clients that will be available in a few months' time. In general, I would like to know how the automobile ecosystem is changing and what is the utilization experience you can tell us about. Well, it depends on the segment. More authoritative persons have told us today that the supercars clients will be different, and I think that Pagani has given us a quite clear-cut standpoint concerning the fact that sometimes useless object can become uselessly electrical and attract people's attention at a point in time when it can generate an interest in a bracket of users who are different to the mainstream clients in terms of going from A to B according to certain modalities. For young consumers, electric vehicles represent a phenomenon that comes together with autonomous driving, shared mobility, and the last one is something that emerges very clearly from the many studies conducted. In fact, young people today have less interest in owning a car. We've seen this yesterday when we said that more than 1/3 of people are more interested in having shared mobility as their primary way of moving around. And this, of course, changes the rules of the game. And recharging becomes the problem of the fleet owners. So if we take on this perspective, and we're not talking about supercars, but the perspectives and the way ahead looks different. And this is my provocative statement to the automotive industry. The world was simple until today. We know this is just a provocative statement, but simple meaning that automobiles can be engineered, produced, and sold, and full stop. Then you give the clients the car keys, and the client will have to run and manage the car. Today, instead, we're evolving towards an ecosystem where we have new actors, fleet operators, electric energy suppliers, different type of suppliers compared to those we used to have for the thermal engine. Within this ecosystem, the advantage is that we are talking about a broader market space. If we take a look at the value chain, and Motor Valley is also interested in knowing where to invest, $2.5 trillion is the value of this market. If we take a look at the mobility environment, whatever moving from A to B means today evolving from 3.5 to 7.5 billion. So it is twice as much. How can we ever capture twice as much value having not just the right manufacturing capabilities or the right batteries or how to carry out the after sales of a vehicle as an end-to-end project? Well, this is something we have to consider going further, and this is for us an opportunity also in terms of the impact. at work on the labor market. Is there an impact on the labor market? Yeah, for sure there will be an impact in that area in the various suppliers tier. There are millions of people who might run the risk of become unemployed, but in order to but we have to be realistic and consider a broader ecosystem that offers opportunities to the country and to the Modena Valley.
Diceva ieri, tanti posti di lavoro magari si perderanno, ma tanti altri si creeranno, mestieri nuovi e
we're going to lose many jobs, but many more will be created concerning the major opportunity of new people, training new people, giving the automobile industries to compete, responding to the competition of those who never produce cars but would like to get improvised because they're very strong in terms of IT engineering. And Maserati is almost there. Your first electric car is going to be presented at year end.
So for many years, you have a long-standing tradition. What about electric cars that are completely different? Is it true? Isn't it true? What is your point of view? Since you have a hands-on approach on a new project, it goes without saying that there is a problem of skills, but the fundamentals remain, and everything that has to do with the tradition of our brand and all the other Motor Valley car manufacturers, this is a fundamental point. So this is an evolution. The automotive sector has always increased because manufacturers go on progressing and evolving. We are in an especially important moment. And therefore the system is ready to address it. Our companies are supported by a set of suppliers. Competencies are there. They have to be developed and enhanced, but I think it is an evolution towards new technologies rather than a disruptive impact. So it is a natural evolution that pushes and drives manufacturers to develop new skills, and so that the new ones remain. And so I think that a good product is there. Maserati, of course, has a very specifically identified identity. We can go back to the roots that is, of course, coming up with a product that is in line with the experience and the expectations of our customers. That's what we will do. And we have been working on this project quite a lot. So we think that we have all the necessary necessary winning cards. So we want to provide a better experience in terms of sports car driving, with all the necessary contents that have to be updated, more sustainable, less polluting, or we can access electric vehicle technology and opportunities. As for super electric cars as a sports car, I would like to now ask Federico Caleno from e-mobility Italia and LX, are there any technicalities concerning technology, cross-fertilization that might be useful for recharging batteries? Since 2009, we have mainly collaborated with the vehicle car manufacturers, and that is true for all the various vehicles. As for supercars, the idea to apply motorsport and what it represented for combustion engine cars, the future frontier that would be found on the road to be transferred to the electric cars, that has also been transferred to motorsport. And we have an expertise and experience in this domain, starting from Formula E with Energica and other types of competitions, TCR, for example. And so the idea is to maintain a close relationship with supercar developers, manufacturers, sports cars manufacturers, to look at the immediate next future, so that these technologies can be transferred to real life. But in electric motorsport, unlike the traditional one, the gap existing between electric cars and electric normal cars is not so big as against combustion engine sports cars and other cars. The electricity allows us to develop the recharging system to provide new solutions to be implemented on the market. Formula E was an opportunity to create, design solutions for quick, portable recharging solution for Formula E. Formula E has been very important, and it was the opportunity to develop portable recharging system that can be brought on the racing track before the race starts for the last recharge to take place. So motorsport is an opportunity for us to develop solutions, avant-garde solutions that in a couple of years they can be implemented on the road. For example, using big parking lots where electric cars are parked before they are put on sale, or they are simply parked, or emergency vehicles to recharge cars that are low in terms of battery recharging. That is why motorsport development and technologies are important to let this field evolve. And I think that new experiences will be developed. Going back to the electric cars to be used on the road, do you have any evidence of how the approach changes towards charging, making a comparison between luxury cars and mainstream cars? Have you noticed something between public domestic recharging and the rest of it? Of course, yes. A few needs are the same, but some others are specific, especially for sports car or cars or luxury premium cars. And we have observed, for example, that over the past few months, an important increase has occurred in the number of customers using electric cars. There has been a doubling of this number. So this is the trend that is bound to continue, and so the revolution is already underway. Especially when it comes to premium car owners, the need to recharge their cars is there, and to have the opportunity to have a greater density because sports car batteries are bigger, and also the recharging in fast recharging using direct current, not just within the company, but also if there is an opportunity, but also especially at home. And in big cities, this is fundamental because you often look at what other countries are doing in the Netherlands, the Nordic countries, but it is also true that Italian cities, towns are have a different architecture and design as against the other European cities. If you make an example between Milan and other cities, there is a high density of historic condos, buildings that make it difficult to do home recharging. And given the evolution of recharging units in Italy, we have to develop a capillary recharging network as against the other countries where people tend to live in houses, in isolated houses, rather than skyscrapers or tall buildings. Apart from the new tall buildings that are now sometimes already equipped with the opportunity to allow the recharging of electric cars. And therefore, we need to help end users in delivering this recharging service at all times, at home, company, and in Italy we don't have terrace houses or little villas, houses with a lawn. This is not the typical architecture of Italian cities and towns. We know that. That's it. Going back to Energica, I would like to ask a question. How was it to start in Motor Valley? Let's do it electric, especially at a long time ago. What were the difficulties that you encountered in this startup? Well, it was fun, exciting, although challenging, difficult, because as I was saying before, we have therefore started going electric at the end of 2009 with electric motorbikes for competition on racing tracks. So we started from the most difficult part, but that brought us here, and we are now being selected for electric motorbikes. We have therefore developed the skills that were not there out there yet. So we knew how to manufacture motorbikes because we were already doing racing with combustion engine traditional motorbikes, and looking for and finding battery manufacturers was impossible. That's why we developed it at home, in-house. And so this is a great advantage given the experience that was made over the past 10, 15 years that allowed us to learn about the various difficulties and the various solutions that are there and that can be shown also in a dialogue with the customer and with the many other customers. And so in 2010, we were considered crazy. But when 2007 and 2008, when Tesla entered the market, especially on foreign markets, but even in Northern Europe, and now Europe is there, and Italy is bridging this gap also in terms of mindset. And now a market is there with various types of facts and figures. We have therefore followed up the evolution of the market so that people who have decided to buy an electric car, well, these same customers might have a propensity also to buy an electric bike. So nothing to envy from the combustion engine motorbikes, apart from, the noise or smell of petrol. And I think that when people try an electric motorbike, they are all happy. So I think that once you start driving an electric car or an electric motorbike, you fall in love with it. There is an addiction problem. There is silence and no heat. Once you are used to it, if you go back to the combustion engine, you are sort of bewildered. You don't like it anymore, so you absolutely become addicted. So you really triggered off the spark in Motor Valley to open up a new market segment in an area rich of skills and competences that need to evolve. And I would like now to give the floor to the person from Accenture, Mr. Teodoro Leo, so that we can transform Motor Valley into Electric Valley. This area specializes in designing and manufacturing of engines, and so there can be a paradigm shift, right? Is it possible? Is it feasible, thinkable? Of course, yes. Electric Valley, I like that. Yesterday we also heard about Cyber Valley in Germany, as the colleague from Bosch said. What does it mean? We need to evolve and change. The electricity changes the configuration of an engine, but not just that. Given the ecosystem as a whole, it changes the approach with customers at the point of sale, in the post-sale, not just dealing with the lithium batteries, not just dealing with more technical battery-related issues. But if we take up this overall vision in terms of system, this is the key for tomorrow's success for Motor Valley, for Italy and Europe. So it goes hand in hand with the development of the digital and sustainability. The digital is already there, with new jobs being created around the world. Sustainability is another important pillar. This is the new digital, the one that the planet has to invest on the next few years in terms of the various resources. And the Italian national recovery and resilience plan shows it. All the investment is focusing on sustainability pillars. And if we are able to reconcile digital and sustainability, capitalize on the expertise that is already there. We're not starting from scratch, because our country and our region is highly specialized, and this uniqueness is really acknowledged by the rest of the world, so that we can come up with not just Motor Valley, but also Sustainable Valley, Cyber Valley, Electric Valley, and so that we can let the human capital, technology, and expertise evolve to create added value for the rest of the world. I think that that can be done and should be done. And this is also proven by the entry of new companies on the market, because this area is absolutely able to work together in a sort of system. Emilia-Romagna is famous for its industrial districts. Emilia-Romagna can do it. It has the know-how and the willingness to do it. Now, let's go back to the person from Maserati, Mr. Davide Danesin. What about the sound challenge? How are you taking care of it? Can you say something? And what about the other important challenge when it comes to the weight of the car? What about the new sports car? How will it be? Will it be better than the other German cars that are now being launched on the market? What can you tell us? Can you disclose anything? So these are the fundamentals that we address starting from day zero. So let's start from the sound. The sound in particular, we believe, is a very important part of the car driving experience. It really creates a link, a real love relationship between the driver and his own vehicle, his own car, vehicle. There is this sensory relationship that provides a really satisfactory experience. The sound is fundamental for all the Maserati products. So since the very beginning, we focused on new technological solutions. And we have a technology solution that will be available on all our vehicles. When you will hear the new sound of new Maserati, the new electric Maserati sports car that has been called part of the Folgore line, you will learn about the new Maserati sound that will be part of the Maserati DNA. We have invested a lot in it, and we will definitely come up with something interesting and exciting. As for the car driving experience, well, it is fundamental to come up with an exciting product. Of course, we already have other competitors. We have a benchmark, and it is right to take that into account as well, to do benchmarking. It goes without saying that within Maserati, for us to win and to beat competitors, we have developed the best-in-class technologies. We have developed components using Formula E technologies, and we have been inspired from it. We have come up with a new engine configuration in order to control in a very accurate way the torque. And so we are sure that we have all the necessary ingredients that have been applied to our new sports car to compete at best and to deliver a Maserati electric sports car experience. So we really look forward to trying and testing it out on racing tracks. I mean, this region is full of racing tracks, right? Let's ask about the development of racing tracks for electric cars. Federico, the question is for you. Well, there's a great opportunity. It is a model that is evolving, and we have an opportunity of racetrack in Rome where we are going to implement the new technologies concerning motorsports and the mainstream driving, so that we create interesting, useful opportunities to try out and test new electric cars, and to organize events with the car manufacturers to let them learn about electric cars. The best ways to promote electric cars and vehicles is to let customers drive them, test them, try them out, so that we should create an environment, a vision for the future, and have the opportunity to really have a go and drive electric cars. And that is why these are the points of reference that we are starting from: the racing track in Vallelunga, but many other racing tracks in Italy have been involved throughout the Italian territory. So it is fundamental to involve the racing tracks and to come up with new solutions. It also becomes a new business, a new sector, because promoting these new technologies is a must for the other circuits, for the other racing tracks. It is a business opportunity for all. And now, what about supercars or sports car? What have you done? Yes, we've done it for all our customers. And as Mr. Federico Caleno said, we need to equip areas so that you cannot just test cars in a technological way for the car manufacturers, but also to give the necessary experience to end customers to overcome the last barriers and to embrace electrical cars and to do this sports car experience. When it comes to racing track experience, a couple of years ago in our recharging hubs, we hosted the Mille Miglia electric version edition that was really promising and that was appreciated by the media and end users, and that was a good opportunity to let end users to see and try, test electric cars, sports cars, as well as historic cars that were retrofitted with electrification. So many types of experiences involving racing trucks can help car manufacturers to develop these new technologies, and that can also help end users to overcome mental barriers and to put in place this new paradigm shift. So the fast recharging is a necessary point. Of course, we need a longer range for the development to take place, and there are so many services related to it that can be developed, especially in this area like Motor Valley. So we talked about what is needed, what is necessary to promote, encourage electric cars, and what about the promotion of electric motorbikes? What do we need? Well, first and foremost, infrastructure, as we have said so far, because even though electric cars can be recharged at home or at the office, etc., but of course, when you go for a drive up the mountains, you need to have charging units. Okay, for racing tracks, they are now getting equipped. We have worked together with the NLX on the mountains. Motorbikes are the places where bikers wish to go. There are so many funny and exciting mountain roads that bikers want to go to have fun with their motorbikes. And there you don't have the time to wait for the recharge and then another fun. So it needs to be fast. And we also need to promote a new mentality and have a new mindset. There is now a national campaign that is really encouraging people to go electric, and it also allows customers to approach the sector. But once a customer has bought an electric vehicle, that customer really gets used to it, and then the next step can be more easily done. And you need to have an incentive to start with. But once the electrification has been launched, it's okay. It's a cultural transition, you see. It has already started. It still takes some time, but the recommendation to the hesitant and the skeptical people, well, that's what we can say. Of course, there are specifications to be followed and learned, so it depends on what you expect and require. But if you can afford and wish to buy it because your needs are met, go for it. That's my recommendation. It is absolutely a good choice because this kind of choice offers many advantages. Of course, electric vehicles would, as a topic, would require a longer time, but this is all on our side. And we meet again at next talk here at Motor Valley Fest. See you later.